Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Reviews, where today we're taking on another indie darling as we dabble into Skylar Plux Adventure on Clover Island. This game was developed by Right Nice Games and Grip Digital, and as they've admitted, it's been inspired heavily by the Jak and Daxter and the Ratchet and Clank series. And I can't really speak for the Ratchet and Clank series because I'm just barely becoming a fan of that myself, but I can definitely tell you that Jak and Daxter inspirations are in this game. So let's go ahead and delve right into it. Starting with the story, you play as Skylar, who unfortunately has had her memory erased. You don't really know how you ended up there, but you're a cat with a robotic arm. Not sure how that happened, except for the fact that you have been imprisoned by the evil CRT. Love that name. CRT has basically repurposed you and given you this robotic arm, but you don't want to work for him because he's already evil, and therefore vow to escape and head down to Clover Island, where he is promptly taken over. Later on, after your first tutorial level, you meet up with your partner Plux, a bird that basically has been having a very happy-go-lucky kind of attitude until this whole situation happened and he landed in, not landed in Skylar's arms, but he came across Skylar and wanted to help her out. So from that point, it's up to you to collect all of the engines for what is called the source. And if you do that, then you're able to maybe get Skylar's memory back, as well as stop CRT in his evil, demonic takeover of the island. And so with story, I didn't really give too many points down on this one. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was hilarious and very much inspired by, say, I can see a little bit of the Ratchet and Clank inspiration, but I can see more of the Jak and Daxter inspiration for that. And therefore, this really does feel, if I could honestly say this, kind of a spiritual successor to the original Jak and Daxter, not Jak 2 and 3, the original Jak and Daxter. Moving on into visuals, for an indie game, this actually looks pretty damn gorgeous. Again, you could tell the inspiration for Jak and Daxter and for Ratchet and Clank here. For me, it's more Jak and Daxter, but I did like how things were set up. It's a very solid and pretty looking game. There were very few points where I actually looked at it and went, that is kind of ugly or that's kind of broken. So visually, I gave it full on marks. I think they did a really great job. Didn't really have too many glitches when I played through this game and so on. Moving on into gameplay. Again, this is also a very solid platformer. So if you're looking for the type of game that it is a platformer inspired by Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter, and it very much plays like one. In fact, I would actually dare say that it's a little bit shorter than those games would be, and part of that I have a feeling is because it is an indie game and it is an experiment. So at that point, they made it kind of short, but they did actually make it kind of collectible. So like with Jak and Daxter, there are collectibles to be able to go out and get, in particular bringing all of the Loa home back to the main village on Clover Island, and that is something for collectors to be able to enjoy, but platform fans will enjoy this regardless. It is a very good flavor of old school PlayStation icon glory kind of thing. It's very well done in the gameplay department. Audio is probably my only complaint with this game, and it's simply because I've played this now a few times just to gather footage and to give it that extra bit of leniency, but unfortunately audio has a bit of problems here. While I have no problem with the performances of the characters, Plux got a little annoying, but CRT was enjoyable whenever he would chime in on conversations. The audio tweaking for the game was really weird. And what I mean by that is there were points where it was normal. There were points when it went really loud with CRT and it didn't necessarily need to. And a lot of the time with Plux, he was incredibly quiet compared to what else was going on the screen. And I'm not saying that, again, Plux kind of annoyed me, and I did pay attention to the dialogue boxes as they came up. But if you asked me to be able to tell you like how he sounded when he said a specific line, that's a harder thing for me to do because he was so damn quiet a lot of the time. And so that's not necessarily a performance issue. That's more of a technical issue. So if I was going to give any advice to Right Nice Games and Grip Digital, you got to fix your audio the next entry. Hopefully there will be another entry in this game. And if so, I'll review it. So that's the audio. Moving on into replayability and presentation. Replay value is kind of tricky on this one because it is a very short game story-wise, and there are collectibles, but not too many. And again, I really do think that was partly that was part of the plan for them. They wanted to make a small and simple game to get people interested, and then maybe the next entry would have more. And I think that was probably the right idea to go about it. Am I saying that for a collectathon gamer that's worthwhile? Probably not, but I think it's still wise to support this game because you might just get a much bigger game next time. So I think that there's replay value, however slightly there is. And for me, I'll replay the story. The story was actually kind of funny. The ending is kind of weird, but I'd still play through the story again. Presentation, does it all come together? Absolutely. It's still a wonderful experience despite the audio problems. I can forgive that. I can go back and probably see if I can listen to it again. Like if I lost a life, see if I can listen to the audio again. And that would be the only thing I would fix in a sequel. But yes, I think it comes together quite swimmingly. You don't necessarily need the audio here. You could have it as quiet as can be, and it still works. And that's why I have no problem giving Skylar and Plux Adventure on Clover Island an 8.5 out of 10. It's a solid B entry for an indie platformer, an indie game platformer, and I recommend this to as many platformers as I could possibly recommend it to. This is going to be a both nostalgic experience for you because it does feel so much like Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, but also as a new experience for maybe even a newer audience. It's great. But is it worth it? Now, currently, I believe when I actually purchased it, it was $19.99, but currently on the PlayStation Store and on Xbox Store as well as Steam, it is available for $14.99. Is it worth it? Absolutely at that price. Again, I paid $19.99 for it. I think it's still worth it there, considering it's an indie game and it's a gem as far as I'm concerned for 2017. I have no problem recommending this. Even better at $14.99. If you have some extra cash, or even if this thing goes free on PlayStation Store or something like that, go pick it up. You won't be disappointed. And for an indie game, even though it's not a 10 out of 10, a solid B effort is still awesome. And yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it for this review of Skylar and Plux Adventure on Clover Island. And I will see you guys next time for the next review.